Entry-level cloud engineers are making about 110 to 130K right now. In 2026, every single roadmap video on YouTube is telling you the same thing. Pick a platform, get certified, build some projects, and get hired. Which sounds great, right? Except nobody's telling you the part that actually determines whether you get hired or not. The stuff that doesn't make for a good thumbnail. Today, I'm giving you the honest version. Hi, my name is Praveen Singh and I run a cloud consulting firm and I've been building on Azure for almost a decade now and this is Cloud with Singh. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please bump the subscribe button and come join my learning community. So here's what makes this different from all the other 50 videos on how to get into cloud. I don't just teach cloud. I train people, over thousands of professionals at this point. I also hire cloud engineers at my company and I do work myself on cloud every single day. So I'm going to walk you through actual roadmap, the real one, including the parts which most creators won't say because it's not what people want to hear. And make sure to watch till the end because I'm going to tell you about the number one mistake I see that kill people's chances before they even start applying. Alright, before I give you the steps, I need to be honest about something. And this is the part most career advice video just skip entirely. Cloud is not an entry level IT career. I know that's not something you wanted to hear, but think about it. Would you trust somebody who has never changed a tire to rebuild an entire engine? That's essentially what you are asking an employer to do when you are applying for a cloud role with zero IT background. Cloud runs on top of networking, operating system, and infrastructure. If you don't understand how subnet works, if you can't explain what DNS does, and if you have never troubleshooted a firewall rule, you are going to struggle. Not because you're not smart enough, just because cloud assume that you know that stuff already. And here's the thing. Every roadmap out there says learn networking basics. Okay, sure, but what does that even mean? It means you need to understand subnetting well enough to troubleshoot at midnight when something breaks in production. Not that I've watched a networking fundamental video, so if you're coming from complete non-technical background, retail, admin, customer service, this is totally fine. But your first step is not cloud. Your first step is IT fundamental. CompTIA A+, plus, basic networking concepts, maybe spend 6 months in a help desk role. And that's your runway. That is your foundation. Now, if you already have an IT experience, help desk, system admin, junior developer, you are ready. Okay, step number one, and this is the step where most people waste most of the time. Pick one cloud platform, Azure or AWS. Not both, just one. The AWS versus Azure debate is a single biggest time sink in the cloud career planning. So I see people spend literally months going back and forth, reading comparison article, watching AWS versus Azure videos, asking Reddit on which one to learn. While they're debating, other people are actually building already. So here's how you actually decide. And it's not complicated. Go to LinkedIn or Indeed right now and search cloud engineer in your city. Whichever platform show up the more with job posting, that is your answer. If your city has a lot of enterprise companies, government, Microsoft shop, go Azure. If you are in a startup ecosystem, SaaS companies, tech forward organization, you might want to go with AWS. If you're near government organizations, very often Azure because of Microsoft's public sector contract, and honestly, the best platform is the one that gets you your first job. You are not marrying it, you are dating it. Cloud concept transfers about 80% across all these platforms. Networking is networking. IAM is IAM. Container is container. The service have different names, but the principle is still the same. So you can absolutely learn the other one later on. I work in Azure primarily, but I'm comfortable in AWS too. The cross platform knowledge comes after. And here's what most people get wrong. They try to learn both simultaneously. They get halfway through Azure and switch to AWS because someone on Reddit said it's better get halfway through now. And now they're 6 months in with no real depth in either. So don't be that person, pick one, go deep, and move on to step two. Step number two is get your fundamental certification. AZ 900 if you pick Azure, AWS Cloud Practitioner if you pick AWS. This should take you about 4 to 6 weeks of part time study. And I want to be really clear about something because I see this confusion all the time. This certification will not get you hired. I cannot stress this enough. I see people get AZ 900 and then wonder why nobody's calling them back. They're just posting on LinkedIn like just pass AZ 900 open to opportunities and nothing happens because AZ 900 is a fundamental certification. It tells an employer that you know what cloud is but doesn't tell them that you can actually work with cloud. There's a big difference in both of them. So why even get it? Two reasons. Number one, it forces you to learn the core vocabulary. Compute, storage, networking, identity, security, pricing model. You need this language. When somebody says spin up a VM in VNet with an NSG, you need to know what every single one of those keyword mean. Step number three, and this is the one that separates people who get hired from people who don't. Build real projects, and I don't mean follow a YouTube tutorial step by step. I mean build something where you make the decisions. Let me tell you what a bad project looks like because I've reviewed hundreds of resumes and I see this constantly. Someone followed a 20-minute tutorial, they deploy a virtual machine, they take a screenshot, they post it on LinkedIn, my first cloud project, and they put it on their resume under the projects. Here's the problem. A hiring manager looks at that and sees nothing. Because follow along tutorial prove that you can follow instructions. Every candidate can follow instruction. That's not a skill. Here's what a good project looks like. You identify a problem, you design a solution, you deploy it, and something breaks. And this is important because you document what broke and how did you fix it. Then you put that on your GitHub with proper README that explains your architecture decisions. The keyword here is decisions. In the interview, I'm not going to ask, did you deploy a VM? I'm going to ask, why did you choose that VM size? Why did you put it in that subnet? Why Azure SQL instead of Cosmos DB? That's the interview question. That's what tells me you can think, not just click. So here are three project ideas that actually impress hiring managers. Number one is multi-tier web application with proper networking. VNet, subnet, NSG, load balancer, SQL or RDS in the background. This shows that you understand how real applications are deployed. Number two is infra as code deployment. Terraform or Bicep, something that can be torn down and rebuilt with single command. This shows that you understand automation, which is what modern cloud engineering actually is. Number three is CI/CD pipeline. GitHub action deploying to real environment. Azure Container App Service, ECS, AKS, whatever platform you choose, this shows that you understand the full lifecycle and not just the deployment. And here's the pro tip. I'm not kidding. The troubleshooting story is more impressive in the interview than the deployment story. When someone tells me I deployed this and then health check were failing because my NSG was blocking port 443 and I had to go into diagnostic settings and trace the packet flow, that person is getting a callback. You need at least 2 or 3 projects, not one. And they should show progression. Each one should be more complex than the last one. Step number 4 is get your associate certification. Easy 104 Azure admin if you went to Azure, or AWS solution architect associate if you went to AWS. This is the cert that actually matters for hiring. When a recruiter searches LinkedIn for cloud candidates, they're not searching for AZ 900. They are either searching for AZ 104, 305, or solution architects. This is a hiring filter. This is the sort that gets your resume past the automated screening. The timeline for this is 2 to 3 months of focus study. And this is the real exam. It's not like fundamental. This one actually tests whether you can configure, troubleshoot, manage, and deploy cloud services. You need hands on lab time for this, not just reading docs. Set up a free Azure or AWS account, deploy services, configure them, break them, configure them again. The exam will actually present you with all these scenarios. For example, a user report that they can't access this resource. What do you check? If you've only read about it, you'll guess. If you actually troubleshoot it, you will exactly know what to do. And here's something that nobody says. You might fail the first time, and that's okay. Pass rate for this exam is about 60 to 65%. So if you fail, you didn't waste the money. You actually learned exactly where your gaps are. Study those gaps specifically, take it again, and one more thing. Schedule the exam before you feel ready. And I'm serious. If you wait until you're 100% prepared, you will study for 6 months and you will never end up booking it. Set a date, put the money online, and you will be amazed how much you learn in the final 2 weeks before the exam. Okay, so here's the biggest mistake I see, and I promised I would share this, so here it is. Certification hoarding. And I have reviewed hundreds of resumes at this point, and the worst one, the one that goes straight to the bottom of the pile, is one that looks like same. AZ 900, 104, 305, 500, 700, 5 to 6 or sometime even 8 certification, and then I look at the project section which is completely empty. Their experience has nothing relevant. I call this paper architect. You have all the certifications, you have passed all the exams, but you have never built a single thing in production. And I can tell you this, hiring manager can smell it in the interviews right away. Because the interview isn't what does AZ305 covers, the interview is more like, tell me something about the time you've had to troubleshoot a networking issue, or walk me through architecture decisions you have made and why. And if you can't answer those questions because you've never actually done it, those certifications on your resumes are useless. Here's how I think about it. There's a diminishing return curve with certifications. Your first certification will give a huge signal. It says, I'm serious. Your second will says, I'm really good. I can do this work. Your third one will be reasonable. Maybe you are specializing. Your fourth certification, the hiring manager is going to think, why aren't you working yet? Your fifth and anything above is simply a red flag. It tells me that you're hiding behind exams because applying for a job is scarier than studying. After your fundamental certification and your associate cert, stop certifying and start applying, start building, and start getting real experience. You can get more certification later on throughout your career when they are actually required during the job process, not as a resume decoration. I have interviewed so many people with 7 or 8 certification who could not even explain a simple concept in real scenario, and I've hired people with even 0 certification because they know what they were doing and they had the experience. Most roadmap videos end at get hired, and I get why. Getting hired is the hard part. But I want to show you where this path actually goes. Because salary data I showed you in the beginning, that's just a starting point, it's not a ceiling. Here's what the trajectory looks like. Junior or entry level cloud engineer, that's 110 to 130 range, which I mentioned earlier. You are going to spend about 1 to 2 years here. You're deploying, configuring, troubleshooting, learning how the teams actually work. You're building the foundation of the real experience. Mid-level cloud engineer, this is where you get 130 to 160k, and this is where you need to make those decisions. You need to pick a specialization, security, DevOps, or automation, or data, or could be AI or networking. The generalist path work for the first job, but specialists get the promotions. After that, you move to a senior cloud engineer, which is 160 to about 200k, and you're making the architecture decisions, which is mentoring junior, leading projects. And at this level, it's not just about technical skills anymore. It's more about judgment and communication, and most importantly, the soft skills. Cloud architect or principal engineers, on the upper hand, can make about 200k or up. And at this point, you're strategizing, you're doing multi cloud, you're doing stakeholder communication, you're also explaining trade offs to the CTOs and the executive teams, you're writing architecture designs, proposals. And here's something that nobody talks about: soft skills matter more as you move up. A senior cloud engineer is just better at Azure than a mid level engineer. They're better at explaining trade offs to a non technical people. They mentor better. The technical skill gets you in the door. The communication skill is the one that gets you promoted. And one last thought: the AI and cloud are converging. If you learn cloud and understand how to deploy AI workload, machine learning models, AI agent, prompt engineering, you're already in the top 5 candidates. That combination is single highest demand skill in 2026 right now. Cloud first, AI second, that is the real path. Alright, so here's the honest roadmap. Build your IT foundation if you need it. Pick one platform, get your fundamental cert in 4 to 6 weeks, build 2 to 3 real projects, and I mean real projects inside Azure portal, not just tutorials. Get your associate certs in 2 to 3 months and start applying. And then for love of your career, do not become a paper architect. If you want hands-on lab where you actually deploy in real Azure environment and not just watch videos, check out cloudlearn.io. I built it specifically for this. Link is in the description. Alright, drop a comment where you are right now in your roadmap, if you're just starting out, or are you already stuck in the certification hoarding mode. Let me know, I would love to hear about it, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious and keep building.